kid who swings a golf club like a dream. I'd like to try to qualify him for the U.S. Amateurs.
Coming to Apple TV Plus.
What's your name?
I'm not into older guys, but I'm flattered.
A new comedy series, Stick.
I don't want to go on this trip.
Your mouth's saying one thing, but those eyes are saying something else.
From the home of Ted Lasso.
This is your shot at redemption? This is your mulligan?
Owen Wilson.
This game takes and it takes. The game's finally giving me something back.
Stick.
You know Arnold Palmer?
Iced tea, lemonade, mix it.
I'm missing a nap for this.
Streaming June 4th on Apple TV Plus.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 155 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. We have a great episode to take you into the weekend. Continuing our discussion about the United States men's national team, we will be discussing one of the newcomers to the roster. I will be joined in just a little bit by Jake Payne of 50 Plus Döner to discuss Damion Downs, the Cone striker who has now joined the national team for the first time. The women's national team have 2 friendlies coming up this weekend against China and Jamaica. We will discuss that. And we will discuss an expanded 2031 Women's World Cup and a potential Trans-Pacific 2038 Men's World Cup. Both of those coming later. But first, let's talk about Damion Downs. He's a beast. He's a 6'4" striker, born in Germany to a German mother and an American father. He and his family moved to Texas when he was 1, and his first language was actually English. He played American football and did not start playing soccer until he moved back to Germany when he was 9. There, he learned German and started to develop his soccer skills, and he started getting into the youth academies of 1FC Schweinfurt 05 and FC Ingolstadt before he moved to the youth academy of 1FC Köln in 2020. He quickly moved up to Köln 2 in 2023 and signed his first pro contract when he was just 18 years old. He's been on the first team ever since, and this past year was his breakout year for the club. 29 appearances, 21 starts, 10 goals, 3 assists across all competitions as Köln won the 2 Bundesliga and will be promoted back to the top flight next season after spending 1 season in the second flight. And Damion Downs turns 21 on July 6th. That's the same day as the Gold Cup final in Houston. So he has a chance to win a title on his 21st birthday and celebrate properly. He's been in the U.S. youth national team system and also has received some caps on the German youth national team system, but now he gets his shot with the U.S. men's national team. And so we're going to take a deep dive of Damion Downs and the Bundesliga as a whole, and I have the best person available to do it. All right, now joining me on the USA Soccer Cast is Jake Payne. Jake runs 50 plus Döner, which is, in my opinion, the best content and perspective on German soccer from top to bottom. He is also the biggest fan of one FC Cologne that I know. The GOAT team is back in the top flight. I know, Jake, you are happy about that, but now you're also happy you have a man on the U.S. national team. So, what's up? And thanks for being on here.
Oh my God. When I got that news, I saw him on the preliminary roster. I'm like, this is it. This is the time. Because he got on one before. And then
Mhm.
when they confirmed him for the final roster, our FC Cologne group chat like exploded. He's one of our favorite players. I'm not gonna get into the show already, but
Yeah.
man, what a time.
Look, for I feel like it's been about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. You've been like, "Yo, what's up with down to the national team? When they gonna call him in? My man is brilliant." Now we get to talk about him, and I want to start with just overall, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have not seen him play at all. So, just in a nutshell, can you describe his overall game? What do we see in Damion Downs?
Oh, he is the quintessential striker. He's everything you want in a striker, right? He's super tall. He's for soccer. He's 6'4".
Hmm.
He's not like fast, but his positioning is insane. Like if you go and watch some of the goals that he scored, um, he's not particularly like outpacing anyone, but like he's just in a spot. There's a song called "He's Always Where Needs to Be," and that that is his game. He's there when the ball gets to him. He's gonna do the right thing. He's so fun to watch, and I'm so glad. I feel like that's what the U.S. kind of needs. It's like that. Just I feel like you guys have been looking for that for a while. Just a striker that's just there to set people up, but mostly to score goals.
You know, when you think of some of the other national team strikers, the nines that have been through there, you know, Balogun, Pepe, they're not tall. They're not big. They're
Yeah.
fast. They maybe get in right spots and they have aerial thing, but at 6'4", Downs is going to tower over everybody. Because of that, there's the obvious question of, is he an aerial threat that can kind of serve as that target forward, or is he a guy that, like the Balagans and the Pepes, is he going to be more of a guy that's a poacher, uses his feet?
Yeah, so I don't think he has a lot of header goals, but that's not due to lack of trying. I think just like Colm kind of isn't like really a crossing team per se. But he is an aerial threat. He does have very good header goals and like a few goals where he like muscles someone off. He's really good with his feet when he does get the ball. Like, I'm trying to think of the exact goal. But there was a goal where he got the ball like almost behind him and he like twisted around and got a shot off as he was twisting. I was like, I don't know how he got a foot on it, but he's like really good when he does get the ball. I do think sometimes just with him being younger and him starting to get his opportunity now, that he kind of sometimes makes a bad shot or something when it's open, but that's not due to lack of ability. I think just he's now getting his shot. So he's got his some learning to do, but now he has a chance to do it on national team level. And I think he's definitely ready for it for sure.
I mentioned as I did my lead in about him, the fact that he was born in Germany, he moved to the United States when he was one. He kind of grew up in the American system of sports and mainly in American football before he started playing soccer when he moved back to Germany, which is unlike some of the other dual nationals that we see. A lot of them learn soccer first and then maybe apply it to other sports. How does that affect his game, or does it affect his game? Do we see a little bit of American football in his game as he has been developing?
Yeah, what if our best athletes played soccer?
Yeah.
Now we're finally seeing it. I think just in playing football myself, is like I think what I see in him is just like that positional understanding, like knowing like with football, I feel like you have to know where everybody is at all times, even if it's across the field. And just when you look at the way that he just understands space and how people move to react to space, like he knows like okay, I'm tall, so someone's gonna play me a little bit closer. Like I to do that, I'm gonna kind of like back off a little bit, and give me some more space to work with to like push or like shoulder him off. I think he just like he's obviously very physical too. Even though I think he hasn't gotten that chance to be physical a lot, but I think just with the American football mindset, like I don't see, I wouldn't be able to point out like, oh, that's a football player, you know what I mean? But I think when you're a multi-sport athlete like that, like some of those things of positioning and understanding physicality and like the right physicality to have for certain moments, like that's definitely present in his game.
He when he came back to Germany, he kind of bounced around from a couple academies. He wasn't on the GOAT team to start, but he ended up there. And obviously, he has now gotten to the first team. There's always two trains of thought of guys progressing through the academy and getting to the first team of whatever club they're at. Sometimes it's style of play. Sometimes, again, they're just the best guy out there. And sometimes there's that opportunity, right? There's no striker. Hey, that guy is 6'4" and the striker doing very well. We have an opportunity for him to play. What do you think it was that elevated him so quickly once he got to Cologne? Was it a mix of the two, or was there like an opportunity for him that he took advantage of?
I think it's a mix of the two. Colin's very prideful about their youth team, and they've had some bad luck, most notably Veers of like academy kids getting sold and then being very good elsewhere. And like Striker, since one of our player Anthony Modeste left the team, like Striker has been a position where Colin had been searching and searching, and they have not found someone to put that same level of production. Like Anthony Modeste was like almost Golden Boot for the league. You know what I mean? And they haven't found that type of player that like is reliable. And I think Damion Downs is bringing that kind of like, you see him out on the field and you're like, okay, it might not be there yet, but like he's definitely progressing to being that striker that you just throw something in the box and he'll make it happen. And like Cole needs that so bad. Like that now that they're going up, it's even more important. And Colin has a few players like Tim Lamperle and others who are like kind of leaving because new opportunities. So like more than ever, he's going to be really looked at to be that striker figure. And that he kind of bided his time, right? He was on the second team for a little bit. And fortunately, Colin didn't freak out and like sell him like they have for a lot of other players that they've had in the academy. Um, and he's getting his opportunity now. He's back in the first league. He did very well in the second league, and we'll see how he does.
You mentioned him being on the team, joining the team when you guys were in the Bundesliga. You obviously were relegated and we're only down one season, so we're not going to talk about the old stuff. But he had his breakout year this year in the two. So what made him so successful this year? Where was there a issue? Was there something about his game that elevated to where he was able to find success and have the game kind of slow down as it tends to do as younger players get that experience?
So I will have to point out his first ever goal for the team was against Colin's biggest rival. So that that sticks out a bunch. And like in the Bundesliga season, he kind of got his opportunity at the end of the season and he scored some very key goals. So I think like already the thought going into this last season was like, okay, we gotta let him cook a little bit. Um he I think just like as I said about the no the striker part, like just back and forth. They weren't really sure. Like their game production from this striker, and then they kind of fell down. Like their game production from this striker, and he got injured. Like Damian Down got a hand injury, which kind of stopped his momentum of starting and whatnot. Like the end of the season, sort of, he was on the bench because he was coming back from that. So it was a little topsy-turvy. I wish he had gotten even more time, because of the coaching decisions to like not really know which striker to go with game to game. But now that there is that open hole, I do think he's going to get more of a chance. And like he had 10 goals and I think 4 assists on the season. So the
Hmm.
times that he did get in, he did make that opportunity of getting in. And like the Bundesliga is just so, I think if you watch it for the first time, it's just so fat back and forward, very like counterattacking constantly. And even though he's on the slower side, as I said, his positioning is just phenomenal. So we really got to see that of like, you kind of be like, where is he on the field? And then all of a sudden he's in the box with the ball. So it's going to be even faster in the first league, obviously, because like, it's easy to be in the box against Elversberg, but when you're doing it against Bayern and Dortmund, then it's like, okay, well, this is kind of a little bit of a different game. So it'll be interesting seeing him get his like prime opportunity in the first league for real this time instead of just coming in at the end of it. And I think that is, I feel like I've been gassing him up so much, but like that is the one question mark of like, can he make that next step? Like instead of doing it against Karlsruhe and Braunschweig, like can you do it against Bremen and Stuttgart and teams like that who have these very fast back lines who aren't as susceptible of like a striker's positioning, right? Does he have that other part of his game where he can use his physicality and be the aerial threat? He is a aerial threat, but being the one, you know? So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the two, right, the second division, the leap from the second division to the first division in just about any European league is tough, right? It's difficult. We see guys thrive in it, and we see guys very much have struggles. But this is yet another step up, right, to the international level, where, as you mentioned, guys are faster, guys are taller. Like they're not going to look at him being 6'4" and go, "Wow, you're an anomaly." There might be a defender who is, eye level or right there with him. What do you think he needs to improve to really give himself a chance at success at the national level and even at the Bundesliga level?
Well, it's CONCACAF, right? So it's that physicality. Like you said, like Bundesliga is still a physical league, but like when you're playing some of the CONCACAF teams that are in there, where like you said, they don't care if you're 6'4", like they're gonna give you some elbows in the box and the ref might not call it, you know what I mean?
We call it
I
we call it
think
chippiness, but
yeah, it should be this,
physicality, same
right.
thing. Yeah.
CONCACAF after dark, you know.
Yeah, of
Um
course.
he's I think that's the next step. And what I'm very interested in seeing as he hopefully gets more playing time in the national team level of like, can he be that guy of like, okay, you are 6'4", and like, are you going to be the striker that like sells contact when you're trying to get in the air and get a header, or are you going to be the guy that is like right on top of his man and you know what I mean, trying to get the header? So and I do think even though he is very position oriented, like just national team soccer is so fast. Um, he does, I think, have to pick it up a little bit, in terms of pace and things like that, and understanding when to make runs. Because I think sometimes he plays really behind the line and like very hold up play oriented, which is cool. But I think when you are at that national team level, you can't just be the one. You can't have that one piece of experience. You kind of have to know how to do everything as the game calls for it. So, if he can kind of make those dangerous runs, and if he can just not let people get like you know what I mean, deal with two center backs trying to follow him at the same time when he's in the box, like I think that would be his big thing. And I've seen him grow so much since he's been on the team. I have faith he can grow into it, but I mean, like you said, like the jump is kind of hard to make sometimes. So we'll see if he's able to do it.
I think the last question I have on Damion Down specifically, and then I want to expand a little bit, is when we get into the Gold Cup, right? It's going to be a lot of games in succession, and he's probably used to that, being in the Bundesliga, where I mean, they're playing, sometimes two, three times in a week, the way the schedule works. Do you think that he is fit enough to be a part of it? And when I say fit, I don't mean that he's out of shape, but you mentioned the speed of the game. Does he have a bigger learning curve than some of his compatriots on the national team because of the fact that he's on the two level, or do you think that the Bundesliga 2 could prepare him well enough to be at least successful during this Gold Cup? Because we've seen guys come from the two and be on the national team for the United States, but sometimes it's a tricky learning curve for some of them.
Yeah, so I think one just like I think the most factual part of what I'm going to say is like because he was injured, I think he only played. I don't even think he started the last game of the season, but he was out for a little bit, so like he doesn't have that same kind of wear and tear that someone who played the whole season has. So I think just on that level, that does help him out and does help the U.S. out a lot. Um, I think like I think when you think of second leagues, like you kind of think, oh, well, the quality must be less. Like the second Bundesliga is a gladiator pit. Like it,
Hmm.
the whole season was super close. Like you don't know, you could play the last place team in the league and suddenly they're up 5 goals. Like it's such a chaotic league that I do think he is prepared of like, whoever comes out of the gate, like I have to be ready for it. Um, I do think, like I said, like because of his positioning and not so much speed, I don't think he has the same wear and tear as every other kind of striker who might have pace to their game. Like he just kind of plays very patiently. But I do think, like I said, if it does call for him to be fast, that could be something that he might get subbed out early or something like that. So I think he's fit. I think there is that like physical toll that he's going to have to get used to because he hasn't played national team soccer, so now he has to balance that and be ready for the first league team to start. So we'll see. Like I feel I don't want to like dodge your question per se, but I think as much as I'm very proud that he's getting this opportunity, it is a very we'll see type of thing. Because he is getting the shot for the first time, and um, I think because he did so well in the second league, now he has to like really grow really fast. So we'll see if he's able to do that. But I've seen him rise to so many challenges. I think he can do it.
And look, it's a great opportunity for him, not just to be on the national team, get some reps, and get in front of Mauricio Pochettino, but as you mentioned, kind of take he's going to take some lumps, right? In practice, maybe he'll take one in the game. He might have a welcome to the national team type of moment, and he'll
Oh
take
yeah,
that
oh yeah.
lesson back to his club and be ready for the rigors of the Bundesliga again with that, with that knowledge in mind. I want to bring out a little bit because, as I mentioned, you not just watch Colin, you watch all of German soccer, and for anything German soccer, when we're in our group chat, we know that we can come to you. So obviously, there's been a lot of Americans that over the years have been in the Bundesliga and the two Bundesliga. It feels like there's been a wave away from sending guys to Germany to develop. But what in your mind makes Bundesliga such a prime place for American talent to develop?
I think just because most teams just try to play their young players, and most of the people coming into the Bundesliga historically, like a Haji Wright, like a Weston McKennie, they come in there so young. So like they do get just that opportunity. Like they're not afraid to play like an 18-year-old against their biggest rivals. You know what I mean? Like that has never been really a mentality of like taking away other than like a Bayern, but that's just because you have so many high quality players anyway. Like, but even they have thrown people into like a game against Dortmund and it's their first senior cap. You know what I mean? So I think just the mentality around building your young players because they don't have the same kind of payroll as the Premier League, where if someone gets injured, they can just buy a new player. Like I think like I've been totaling it like the lowest paid Premier League team would be like the fifth highest paid payroll team in the Bundesliga. So you don't have the option to like go on the transfer market usually. You'll have to find someone on the second team to kind of fill in. So I think that really does help. I think why they might be shying away from that is because a lot of the prospects hasn't really worked out all that much. So um there is that huge gap, and like seeing Damion Downs get in is kind of a testament. Hopefully, that is something that the Bundesliga will see. Like, okay, like even though we had our Aaron Johanssons and things like that, like maybe there's still other players that can get good shots in the Bundesliga from the US. So yeah,
Is it, and again, this we still have guys that are in Germany, right? We have the Joe
yeah,
Scallies and the Paxton Aaronsons and the
oh
my guy
yes.
Kevin Paredes is there and doing, and doing well. Is I always ask this question for people who watch German soccer, and I watch a lot of it. Does the German language maybe inhibit players from thinking that it's a bar that they can't leap? We get the Spanish all the time, right? We can go to our corners and hear people speaking Spanish on the soccer field and the basketball courts and things like that. So going to Mexico, going to South America might not be as daunting a challenge as it would be going to Germany. Has that kind of factored into things, or do you think it's just a wave that, again, the wave might just be going somewhere else?
I think it's just a way of going somewhere else, right? Like you see so many people on the U.S. men's national team playing in like Denmark and other places like that where that same
Hmm.
language barrier happens. Especially because I think what I have seen from I always think back to the days where we were on Fox Soccer Match Pass, and
Hmm.
like there's a whole young Bundesliga in where there'd be like an alert in the side corner where a Bundesliga or American Bundesliga player scored, usually John Brooks. But
Just dating
I
us.
I think that wave is just going somewhere else right now. Who's to say it could go back to the Bundesliga? But yeah, I don't think language is that big of an issue, especially because I do think a lot of Germans. I think there's a famous meme about people trying to learn German. Is when you go to Germany, everyone wants to speak English. So,
Mhm.
um, I don't think the language is that big of a deal. Of course, if you're 16, like it's very daunting, of course. But I don't think that's the reason, you know.
So let's narrow from the Bundesliga to your team, the Go team. Um, First of all, just tell the people what makes you a Go team fan. What like talk about your love of the club and how far that passion goes back.
Well, I love being in constant pain, so that's part of it. Um, no, it's just like so. I think the main to summarize the story a little bit, I studied abroad in a city that's very close to Cologne called Bonn, which used to be the capital of West Germany. And I ran into some of the ultras going to school there too, and I had known about Cologne beforehand, but like that really cemented it in, and just like it's hard to describe whenever people ask this of like, okay, well, what is it about it? Because it's just like a certain like allure about the club and about the city. Like some of the most painful sports moments I've ever encountered had been because of this team. But at the same time, like I wouldn't trade it for anything else, right? Like the atmosphere is literally one of the best in Europe, right? Like the city is all like, when they always have this tradition where when the season opens, like the cathedral in Cologne, which is super famous, they do a service where you bring your Cologne stuff and they like sing the club anthem in the church. You know what I mean? Like that's how much the club means to the city, and that love is just so contagious. And it's interesting for like your audience of people in America, like it's very apparent in the people in the US too, right? Like if you see a watch party or like I'm gonna shout out our FC meetup we have every year, like the passion is just even there in the US to a degree I would say similar to Germany, right? So it's just this infectious love about the club, and like the club doesn't it is not so international yet, but I think once they continue to see how the US fan base kind of reacts to the team, that they'll see it eventually. So
I will say my first ever European match, Bayern Munich versus Cologne in at the Allianz in Munich. I was there for Oktoberfest, but was sitting in the end with the Cologne supporters and
oh yeah.
a blast. So I can attest. And as this access increases, right? I'm sure 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you couldn't watch a lot of Cologne games unless they were in the Bundesliga, even if they were. But now with this extra access, now you have this scenario where you are trying to find a U.S. jersey for one of your favorite players on your club team, which hasn't really happened much for teams in the position of Cologne. But what about your club do you think could attract future American players?
Yeah, I realize now I have my Downs jersey in here somewhere and I didn't hang it
Uh-huh.
up. Um I think what's attractive is Cologne literally got to this position of returning to the first league because they relied on their young players so much. Like some of the people out there on the team had been in the second league for like 3 years or 2 years, you know what I mean? Like Damion Downs. And they called up a few people to come out. And like next year, even though they talked big about signing people in the summer, that aspect of bringing up people from the first league is or from like the second league second team to the first is always going to be there, right? There's always like a Podolski or a Jonas Hector or a um um Damian Downs or you know what I mean, like all these people who kind of built their time in the academy, they get to come up and play in the first league for a game or whatever, like more than you would get elsewhere. So it's definitely one of those teams that also will need a lot of help in this first league. Like it's going to be such a competitive season next year, and I am a little worried about Combs' chances, but I think if you are a US player, you got to be looking at kind of like not open holes per se, but like I can make my impact there, and like it's very easy to be worshipped by the fans there, so that plays a part in it too. So we'll see. I think one of the things is they haven't got a permanent head coach yet, so maybe if you are a player, you're probably kind of looking at who to see goes in there. But I would be very shocked if it wasn't someone who wants to play young players or wants to play their international people they spent decent amount of money on. So
I mean, look, you were talking about Colin's chances next year. In the time that we've known each other, I have seen you celebrate them be in Europe. I have seen you commiserate them dropping down to the second division, and now I've seen you celebrate the euphoria of them being lifted back up into Premiership. So anything can happen with the Go team is what I've
true.
learned in the time that I've known you. Okay, this summer, little hypothetical game. This summer, you mentioned some of the holes that you may need to fill on your club. Let's say the club calls you up and says, Jake, I need a couple of Americans. Who would name one or two Americans that you think would fit in with or give you a boost for next season?
Ooh, I'd be like, what center backs you guys got? I think center back is constantly a position called needs. Um, and like I'm blanking out on who it is, but like a pacey midfielder would be huge. We have Linton Mina, who is very pacey and very good, but having two would be fantastic. So
Hmm.
I'm blanking on player names. Maybe I should have actually found one or two. I'd be like, hey, US, it's a buy any hour type of consulting deal.
Yeah.
But those are the two profiles I would have. It's like a pacey midfielder and just like a reliable defender, per specifically center back.
Well, I would. I think we could talk for like 3 more hours about this, but we have to cut it short. But before we do, as I mentioned, you do so much content for German soccer for your team. Tell the people, take some time to plug everything that you're doing, all the work that you're doing.
Well, first, I am going to Hartford for that first game. I if so, Damion, if you're a U.S. men's national team person, put Damion Downs in that game, please.
Oh, you're going to Hartford. I'm
Yeah.
still like literally when I get off with you, my job is to figure out tomorrow if I can make this trip happen because it's usually just a drive, but a lot of factors going in. So
Well, you
hopefully,
got it's my
hopefully I can
first
make it
ever
and see you
U.S.
there.
men's national team game, so
Yeah.
you
See, now I
gotta
got now the pressure is on me. Pressure
there.
makes diamonds, I
Yeah.
hear. So
Um,
maybe I'll be blinging.
So you'll be catching, hopefully you'll want to see the U.S. men's national team lens from the 50 plus donor eye, which I will certainly be taking video. And I try not to be too annoying in those things, but I definitely want to interview people and stuff like that. But we're at 50 plus donor. We are usually on Thursday nights on Twitch and YouTube. Even though it's the summer and there's no leagues going on in Germany, we still have we don't really like talk about the stats so much. Like we're doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign for the Bundesliga, and we had a WrestleMania thing with Bundesliga mascots last year that we're bringing back this year. So if you want, like, if you're not so much a tactics person, um, come watch with us. We don't really we have an eye of what tactics are, but we're not really talking about formations. We're really talking about what the game means to people and kind of like the atmosphere around the game and just having fun with the league. I think the Bundesliga can be a little stern sometimes. And I see kind of like the fun stuff that like you do and people for MLS content creators do with the league, and that's what we try to do with Bundesliga. So if that sounds good to you, come on out. If it doesn't, give us a shot. So we'll hopefully see you on Thursday, and I'll hopefully see you in Hartford.
See, now it's my job. Now I got to get to Hartford because I need this. First of all, I want to see him play live for the first time, and some, some of the other newcomers to the roster. But just something about him, right? And just again, hearing how much he has developed in your eyes and kind of getting your perspective. Now I need to see it in person. So hopefully I can make that happen. And of course, I'll get to see you there.
Oh yeah, we have a very we have a nickname for him that has a curse word, so I can't probably say it here, but we have a nickname for him that kind of tells how big he is with us. So to see him get the shot is awesome, and I hope he gets in, and I really hope he scores because I'm gonna lose my mind. But um, it's so exciting to see this. So
If I see someone run onto the field after he scores and it's not you, First of all, it wasn't you. I didn't see you. I ain't no snitch.
Oh, that's a decoy.
That's that guy right there. I don't know that guy. But it would be a sight to see that. I just want to see. I want to see you react to that if that ever were to transpire at Hartford. Hopefully, again, I'll see you there. Jake from 50 Plus Döner, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. Of course, again, I hope we'll see you in person soon. But we got to get you back on as maybe closer to the season, start to talk about some of these Americans in the Bundesliga.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully we'll be partying in Hartford, man.
Let's pause here for a quick break. We will talk about the upcoming women's national team friendlies, an expanded 2031 Women's World Cup, and a rumored partnership for the 2038 Men's World Cup on the other side.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, hot fudge sundae y en la nueva creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccercast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS Store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back, and we want to thank Jake again for being on the show. There's no better perspective on German soccer than Jake, in my opinion. And he does a ton of great content to promote the German game, as well as his beloved Cologne. So go check that out and show him some love. We now turn our attention to the United States women's national team. They are preparing to compete in friendlies on May 31st, that's Saturday, against China, and then on Tuesday against Jamaica. A couple of weeks ago, head coach Emma Hayes released the 24-player roster for the women's national team. The roster includes several changes to the one that competed against Brazil back in April. First off, KC current midfielder Lola Bonta. She has received her first national team call-up along with Orlando Pride defender Carrie Abello. And at 32 years of age, LaBonta could become the oldest player to ever debut for the women's national team if she plays in either match. Seattle Reign goalkeeper Claudia Dickey is another uncapped player that makes the roster. Midfielder Corbin Albert was among those who had been regulars who was omitted from the roster. You're also missing Trinity Rodman and Rose Lavelle. They continue to be absent due to injury, while Mal Swanson and Sophia Wilson, of course, are on leave due to their pregnancies. Welcome back, Naomi Girma. She returns to the women's national team after being out for a while due to injury. Katerina Macario, her teammate, is also on the roster. And you have Lynn Biondolo, who returns to the roster after missing the April matches. So here is the roster for the women's national team. Your goalkeepers, as I mentioned, Claudia Dickey. There's Mandy McGlynn and Fallon Tullis-Joyce. Your defenders, Carrie Abello, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Tara McKeown, Avery Patterson, Emily Sams, and Emily Sonnet. Midfielders, Sam Coffey, Lindsay Heaps, Claire Hutton, Lola Bunta, Olivia Moultrie, and Lily Ioannis. And finally, your forwards, Lynn Biondolo, Michelle Cooper, Katerina Macario, Emma Sears, Allie Sentner, Alyssa Thompson, and originally Giselle Thompson. Giselle Thompson was on this roster. She just had to leave camp a day ago due to a knock that she picked up. So it's really unfortunate for her, but hopefully she will be okay and we will see her, I'm sure, in future camps. As I mentioned, the women's national team take on China. They will play in St. Paul, Minnesota at Allianz Field on Saturday. They will then go to Energizer Park in St. Louis on Tuesday, where they will face Jamaica. And I'm looking forward to a lot of things with these matches, but these ring the truest for me. Number one, goalkeeper Fallon Tullis-Joyce, I think, has a chance to really make her case that she should be the starting goalkeeper for the women's national team. I think she's the one playing the best right now of the player pool. And I think she really needs to step up and assert herself in this camp, continue to do the things that got her to this level, and show Emma Hayes that she can be dependable in this race to replace Alyssa Nair after she retired in December. Secondly, there are some more young players that are getting an opportunity, and the idea now is that hopefully for some of them, the game has slowed down. They're able to better react to the international level and the performance that's required to not only stay on this level, but thrive and make this team better. So I hope that some of these younger players who have maybe gotten no caps or maybe even a few caps, that hopefully that they're starting to gel and they're starting to understand what it means to be a part of this program and the effort that is required to win games consistently against the best teams in the world, because that's normally who they play. There's also the fact that with Triple Espresso out for the foreseeable future, who from the striker core steps up to provide goals? You have your veteran, Lynn Biondolo. You have Katerina Macario, who obviously is a veteran as well. You have Alyssa Thompson, who has had a lot of caps on this national team level. And then you have some of the players that are getting into this mix. Michelle Cooper, Emma Sears, Allie Sentner. There is an opportunity for all of them to really be involved in this national team setup. And even when Triple Espresso is back on the field, some of these players are going to be right there with them. And this team needs to learn how to operate without some of its stars. Rose Lavelle is out in this camp, so you're not going to have that creativity that she can provide. How do you make that up? And I think some of these players, they have an opportunity to show that they can be the replacement. They can be the aggregate and take this team forward, even though some of our veterans are currently not here. And then finally, after all that, it's great to win. Try to get 2 convincing wins that, like the men, show this progress from the younger group. They have played a tough schedule so far this year. They've lost a couple games. They did not look great in some of those losses. And even some of the wins, there have been some struggles. But that's part of this process as you enter this cycle and really get into the cycle for the 2027 World Cup. Some of these names on this list are going to be in Brazil, or at least in 2026, try to qualify for Brazil. And they need to learn now what it's going to take to be at the level needed to dominate then. And that is what this camp is all about. That's what all of these camps coming up are about. They're going to have 3 more games at the end of June. So this is not the last time we'll see some of the players in this group. But I'm very much looking forward to watching them play, watching some of these young players try to thrive. And let's see if the women's national team can get a win and see if they can look good in the process. Once again, the United States is the site for a 48-team soccer tournament. A few weeks ago at the FIFA Congress, soccer's world governing body voted to expand the Women's World Cup to 48 teams, beginning with the tournament in 2031. The United States as the sole bidder for the 2031 Women's World Cup, alongside Mexico and a couple of games that will be played in other CONCACAF nations. That tournament will expand to 48 teams. And once again, the United States will be the center of that. The teams will be divided into 12 groups, with the total number of matches increasing from 64 to 104, which is the same as it is on the men's side that we will see starting next year at the 2026 Men's World Cup. The 2035 Women's World Cup also has one sole bid in the joint United Kingdom bid of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Now, the 2023 Women's World Cup was the first to be 32 teams. It's a format that Brazil will have in 2027. However, FIFA has decided, just like the men's side, the allure of having more games, more teams involved, and yes, more TV money and ticket money was too much for them to ignore. While it will increase representation, there are real concerns that still remain over whether the level of competition will suffer with more teams involved that may not be ready to play with some of the best teams in the world. We will see some of that next year on the men's side, and that gap may be a little bit further on the women's side. That's something that this investment now that some of these national teams are making are going to pay off, hopefully, in 2031, but that is still a real concern. There's also that, they have more opportunities for FIFA to have more fans in attendance, more games, more revenue, but it also means more logistics. Fans and players are going to have to navigate all these visa requirements from multiple countries, and that is something that we've had to deal with in the past. We just had to deal with it in 2023, but some of these nations are not going to be able to host a World Cup by themselves, and they're going to need help. And that is where some of these logistics will get a little dicey. I think the other concern is that with the tournament expanding, you will not have some of these smaller countries be able to bid, whether they join with others or not. I think FIFA at this point has tried to narrow down these bidding processes to one bid before the process even starts, so that they don't have to really deal with it, and they don't have to deal with the visitations and the considerations of different bids and having people jockey for votes. They would just rather have a clean process. And on some levels, that's okay, but really, it really shuts out a lot of countries and puts the favored countries up front without much of a fight. And I think having a 48-team Women's World Cup is going to just create more of that. There's only going to be a few countries that can host a 48-team Women's World Cup. And so those same teams, like the United States, like again in England or in Argentina or Brazil, those teams, those nations are going to be hosting World Cups multiple times. And while that's cool for someone like me who wants to go to games and doesn't have to travel as much, that is obviously going to be a detriment to those countries that are never going to sniff the World Cup, because they would not be able to partner with a country that is more favored than others, or one of these bigger countries that everybody wants to visit, one of the touristy attractions. So that is going to be something that FIFA will have to work around. Some of these nations are going to have to get creative in proposing bids for hosting World Cups if they want to be a part of this. But the 2031 Women's World Cup will at least have the ability to take the lessons learned from the preparation execution of 2026. And now FIFA has to commit the investment that's necessary to get more women's teams ready to compete at the highest level, because 48 teams have to create a World Cup that will be successful. And if they don't, they're going to have to figure out a way to stick the toothpaste back in the tube. Finally, after the 2026 World Cup and likely the 2031 Women's World Cup leaves the United States, we may not have to wait long for the biggest tournament on the planet to return. At the FIFA Congress, this FIFA Congress was wild, by the way, a few weeks ago in Paraguay. A lot of stuff going on. But at this FIFA Congress, it was learned that New Zealand has explored plans to partner with the United States and Fiji to bid for the 2038 Men's World Cup. The 2030 World Cup already confirmed. Spain, Portugal, Morocco, Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay will be hosting that across 3 continents. While the 2034 World Cup solely in the country of Saudi Arabia. That means for 2038, unless FIFA decides to change its bid procedure, only bids from Oceania and CONCACAF will be accepted. Enter New Zealand, who co-hosted the 2023 Women's World Cup with Australia. However, they can't do that in 2038 because Australia is a part of the Asian Football Confederation. So they are not allowed to band with their island neighbor to bid on 2038 with their confederation hosting it 4 years prior. So that's forcing New Zealand to get creative. As I mentioned in the last segment, some of these nations have to get creative to get a bid off for the World Cup, and New Zealand is doing just that. That creativity, according to The Athletic, includes partnering with the United States and Fiji. Now, Fiji has long wanted to build a stadium that they think would be capable of hosting big-time matches. And as Oceania kind of enters this fold of being able to bid almost uncontested for a World Cup, Fiji wants to be a part of that. And it would add to New Zealand's potential plan for a 2038 World Cup that's going to have at least 48 teams. But if it was up to CONMEBOL, they would have 64 teams. Part of these plans by New Zealand could also include hosting games in Hawaii, which is building a new stadium to replace Aloha Stadium. That new stadium would be less than the old stadium's 50,000 seat capacity, but they would be able to temporarily expand it for a World Cup should matches be held there. Finally, according to this plan, there in theory would be matches in the mainland of the United States, creating a trans-Pacific affair. With both the men's and women's World Cups now at 48 teams, and lots of serious chatter about expanding the men's side to 64 teams, FIFA has now created this issue that only some nations can bid for the World Cup without partnering with a co-host. That increases the complexity of the logistics for players, staff, and fans to get from one place to another. Includes visas, accommodations, flights, even before you get to the match tickets. A Trans-Pacific World Cup would see teams and fans potentially flying 15 hours or more to get from a match in New Zealand to a match on the west coast of the United States, which means jet lag now becomes a major factor. For the United States men's national team, it would mean that after 2 rotations, they would once again automatically qualify for a World Cup as the co-hosts. Now, I will say, Oceania deserves to be able to host a World Cup. And while it could be a logistical nightmare having matches in New Zealand, Fiji, Hawaii, that part sounds fine to me. I think that we need to add a couple more islands or maybe petition FIFA to allow Australia to enter the mix despite the fact that Saudi Arabia will have it in 2034. They're going to have to figure out a way to convince FIFA that them hosting this thing is a good idea. But it can be done without the mainland of the United States being involved. But if the United States is involved and games are held on the mainland, the logistics of having a Trans-Pacific World Cup, I mentioned the long flight times, that's something that we're actually going to be used to. Because in 2030, the distance between South America, like Uruguay and Argentina and Paraguay, to Morocco and Portugal and Spain, that is going to be a long flight for those teams that have to make that trip. 9 to 10 hours. So we're going to be used to it on some level, but 15 hours, that's a lot. And again, some of these islands are not big. They're not going to have the capacity to host so many people. Fiji is not a country that can hold 100,000 people that are coming for a World Cup match. The logistics of getting those flights in and out, full of fans, that is going to be tricky. Of course, we have 13 years to do it, but if this comes to pass, there is going to be a lot of logistics that need to be ironed out. But here's an additional wrinkle. There's also the possibility that FIFA could allow other nations from confederations that are technically excluded from consideration. CONCACAF president, Canada soccer president, FIFA vice president Victor Montagliani has reportedly encouraged England to bid for the 2038 World Cup, saying it's time for them. England, who, of course, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are all banding together as the likely hosts of the 2035 Women's World Cup, have not hosted the men's tournament since 1966, their only win in World Cup history. An England bid, if allowed by FIFA, could be seen as the more popular option, especially if they pair with another country. So for New Zealand, if England is allowed to bid for the World Cup, they should then ask for the exemption to co-host with Australia. However, again, that seems unlikely given that Saudi Arabia is hosting 2034, and they do not allow a confederation to host 2 consecutive men's World Cups. So that means pairing with the United States feels like the best chance New Zealand have of ever hosting the men's World Cup. There's a long way to go before they decide on 2038, but it's possible that American fans may once again have matches end up on our soil 13 years from now. And get your passports ready now, because I'm already losing sleep over the potential travel schedule that we are all going to have. That is going to do it for episode 155 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you again to Jake Payne for being on the show, and thank you for listening. Remember, you can find us on Blue Sky and YouTube. Follow us on both at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. It helps us get in front of new people, and it's greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. Finally, check out our affiliate links and our stimulus store. We have everything you need to watch the beautiful game and follow your teams, and you can help support the show in the process. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.